Okay. Hey, everybody, we are recording now, and I'm Erin Carey, and I am a certified integrative nutrition health coach. I am a nerd. I'm a brain health nerd. I'm also an Emerald Ambassador and with Plexus, and I want to share a little bit about my story. I want to share a little bit about why we're doing this training. It's going to be very detailed. If you have to leave, for some reason, I'm not offended, because I'm recording this and I understand that life happens. So I'm going to leave it like this, because if I go into full slideshow mode, I lose the screen. I lose seeing some of you guys, and I like to see faces. So here we go. A little bit of background, my story. If it can, we will see if it will go to it. Come on, screen. Okay, can everybody see that? I see Iris's face. Iris, will you nod if you see the, do you see this new screen that says my story? Okay, thank you. All right, so here's a little background on me. Is that growing up, I've always loved food. I've always dieted a ton, like back and forth yo-yo dieting. I never saw nutrition as food nutrition as any kind of a help for brain health, for mood issues, and I always struggled with those things. I had a lot of gut health issues as a little baby, ear infections on and off, asthma. Later that turned into depression. Then after that, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I've just been through a lot that has to do with gut health, inflammation, blood sugar, all those things, which we're going to talk about. So that's a little background on me and why I care about this stuff. And I know a lot of you guys are maybe on this call because you want to hear about the products, but I cannot talk about the products without talking about why we need the products. And so that's what I really want to go into first, because I think it's really easy to say, oh, we all need supplements. We all need, everybody take these products, whatever. But if we don't know why we need these things, we're lacking some really good information. So let's see if it will go into, it's going so slow and I don't know why. Okay, so here is one of the reasons why I got involved with supplements and why I got involved in nutrition is because diet culture is failing us. We hear all these statistics about people being overweight. We hear all these statistics about people being unhealthy, but there's not really a good solution. The whole idea of calories in, calories out, that is failing us. Because if you look at a 100-calorie snack bag of pretzels and, an apple, which is, I don't know if that's exactly one. I mean, it's going to be a little closer to 100 calories. Those are going to be very different in nutrients. So if you go low calorie, but you're filling yourself up on things that are not nutrient rich, you're maybe not going to be super healthy overall. You might end up with a high glycemic load. You might be filling up on a lot of carby processed things that are not going to do anything really great for your body long term. The statistics tell us, the studies, the science, they all tell us that 90% of diets fail. And actually that number is closer to 95%. They're just not sustainable. And so people want answers. People want to know what they can do beyond this whole diet mindset. The other problem with diets is that accountability is left in the diet itself and not so much in the person. Like we put all of our hope and trust in this one diet. And then we don't really learn to listen to our own bodies. We haven't learned mindfulness. We haven't learned what is good for us individually. And we are all very, very different with very different health issues. And the other thing that is really interesting about diets and why diets don't work, and why there is such a need for other options, is that a body that is stressed will not digest. If you are stressed out because you're trying to stick to, 1,200 calories a day, 1,300 calories a day, you're not going to digest anything you eat. You're going to maintain a steady level of stress. It's going to increase inflammation in your body, and you're going to be having these long-term health issues. That's why we see people who look like they're fit or in shape, but really deep down they have a lot of inflammation going on. Some of the most unhealthy people I know are people who track every single bite that comes into their mouth, people who work out constantly, people who are always, you know, posting about their macros and, you know, whatever it is, right? Those can be some of the most unhealthy people because they're so stressed about it and they're creating a lot of long-term issues in their body. So the whole reason we need other things is that diets are failing us. The other thing that is failing us, sorry, if I go to the next slide, it's going, there we go, is we have information overload, right? Like nobody knows who to believe. Nobody knows who to trust. Doctors have not been trained in nutrition. I think they get, you know, some kind of nutrition training, but there's not a lot of knowledge that's out there. There's not a lot of knowledge that's evidence-based when it comes to nutrition, because when you're dealing with people, there are so many different variables. Big food companies, you know, they want your money. They don't want your health. So they can put anything on a label to sell you. So what are really the facts about health, nutrition, long-term lasting health? A lot of it comes down to epigenetics. This is one of my very favorite topics. This whole idea that your genes, it's supposed to say load the gun. Sorry, that says load the gut. That is a typo, but it's also kind of a funny Freudian slip there. Genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. So they've done studies in mice. And again, you know, this is not people, but it's a good indicator of what could happen in people, that mice who have been given, you know, a really healthy diet of whole food nutrition, they switch them to standard American diet, processed food, all the things that we, you know, McDonald's, whatever it is, I don't know, whatever you can give mice that mimics that. And they saw that within one day, it completely changed the way their genes were expressed. And so I think one of the reasons that's so important for us to understand is that, you know, genetics it's a really big buzzword right now, especially epigenetics. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard about MTHFR gene mutation. There are various gene mutations that can trigger different disorders in people, but you have the opportunity to biohack your genes, and you have the opportunity to change the way your genes are expressed through what you eat, through stress management, through movement, through mindset. Even our thoughts can actually change the genetic expression of our genes. Like, it's insane, but it's true. Having gratitude, being grateful, that will change genetic expression. And then there are a few other things that are going to prevent you from losing weight, maintaining long-term health, which is what this whole thing is about, is blood sugar, inflammation, and gut health. And so I want to touch on those again. We want to talk about why products help, but we got to talk about why there's a need for them. These are the top three. This is the trifecta: blood sugar, inflammation, and gut health. And I'm going to go over those a little bit first before we get into the products. And again, this is a major overview. I'm trying to talk fast because I could go so much deeper onto each of these topics, but ain't nobody got time for that tonight. So long time ago, Hippocrates said that all disease begins in the gut, and that is still true. The gut is the gateway to all disease. Our country is facing a major gut dysbiosis epidemic. I mean, every article that pops up on my Facebook these days is about how our microbiome is being wiped out. Some of the biggest contributing factors, they're not things that we can completely avoid, but they are factors that contribute. That's chronic use of antibiotics. Remember that antibiotics are in our food as well. So it's not just antibiotics that are prescribed for a sickness, but we are just getting a steady dose of antibiotics every single day that we eat chicken, we eat beef. Beef is a little bit more resistant to antibiotics, but it's definitely in our chicken. And it gets into everything. So increased C-sections, again, sometimes unavoidable, decrease in breastfeeding, long-term NSAID use, and of course our food is going to mess with our gut dysbiosis, specifically the pesticides, glyphosate. Gluten, again, is a huge trigger for people because it really does contribute to leaky gut. And it's not so much the gluten, it's the way that the gluten is processed, it's the pesticides on the, I mean, it's just, again, I don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but I could. So here's the thing: stop eating food your body can't process. We're overfed, undernourished, and undergermed. We have a lack of good bacteria. That's something that's really important. Think about the hand sanitizers, the antibacterial soap. Everything is antibacterial these days. I don't know if we've ever lived in a time where people have been so obsessed with cleanliness. There are good things about that, yes. But again, I read something the other day that talks about nature always bats last. So nature is always going to have a say and win out. And so when we wipe out all that good bacteria and the bad bacteria, we're going to end up with some issues. So leaky gut is at the root of all autoimmune issues. And what leaky gut is once again, I'm talking way too fast because I have products to cover, but leaky gut is when your gut lining becomes permeated through all of these toxins that are entering our bloodstream. So what happens with that is that there are endotoxins that are not supposed to leave our gut lining, and they leave. And those, we'll talk about inflammation in a minute, those lead to inflammatory cytokines, which is what causes all of these autoimmune conditions and mental illness as well. That's a major passion of mine because I'm a survivor of mental illness. The root of mental illness is inflammation, inflammatory cytokines, and the root of that is this right here, and that's gut health. So again, food that contributes to leaky gut, is gluten, dairy, sugar, also alcohol. I didn't have that on there. I mean, really anything processed, pesticides. I mean, we could just go on and on. I don't want to talk about this to scare anybody. Another thing too that contributes to our poor gut health is that we don't give our bodies a chance to rest and take a break from eating. We eat all the time. And there's actually this really amazing thing in our body called the migrating motor complex, and that is the internal gut housekeeper. When you've given your body a chance to rest from food, say 3 to 4 hours, your gut gets to work, working on breaking down all the bad stuff and sending things where they're supposed to go. But the problem is that we just eat all day long. And a lot of times what we're eating is the stuff that's harder for our body to process. So it takes longer for our body to process the way it's supposed to. That's why, I tell a lot of people, try to keep your eating to a 12-hour window. I know intermittent fasting is really popular, and I'm okay with that too, but I don't think that's good for everybody. But I do think that there's something to be said for a 12-hour window of food. You eat breakfast at 8, you don't eat after 8, because then you give your body 12 hours to digest everything. And it also, side note, it gives your brain time. There's a brain housekeeper as well, and that can help kind of clean out cells and things like that. So all right, I'm going to move on to inflammation. And inflammation, if you look at this poor guy here, his little picture, all these diseases, all these issues are related to inflammation. So what turns on the inflammatory response? So inflammation is supposed to be temporary. It's supposed to be a good thing. Like you get a cut, your body has an inflammatory response to heal from the cut. And same thing for, I'm trying to think any other like injury that happens inside the body. Inflammation is supposed to be temporary, but the problem is that we're seeing inflammation that is constant through our food, through stress. Stress creates an inflammatory response in your body. If you are always in fight or flight, if you are always breathing through your mouth, you are not giving your body a chance to rest and digest. So try to be real conscious of breathing through your nose, and that makes a big difference. So all the inflammation that we have on a regular basis from stress, from our food, from poor gut health, all of that is going to lead to chronic disease long term. I think a lot of newer studies are even saying that things like high cholesterol and heart health and these things that we used to think were related to like fat, we're seeing is now actually an issue of inflammation. Omega-6, an increase of omega-6s increase inflammation. And omega-6s are like a lot of our processed vegetable oils. There are a lot of, sorry y'all, my brain is blanking out. A lot of the fats like canola oil or what's the other one I'm thinking of? Sorry, corn oil, vegetable oil, any of these processed seed oils are going to lead to an increase of inflammation, and we are not having enough omega-3s in our diet that counterbalance it. It's supposed to be even. So if you think about, we have an awesome product called Mega X. If you look at the ingredients of Mega X, it's an even distribution of omega-6, omega-3, omega-9, omega-7. It's all even. When that gets out of balance, that's when you're going to see an increase of inflammation in your body. So I won't go into that too much, but polyphenols that you get in fruits and vegetables and in some other things that we're about to talk about, that decreases inflammation. Even fat cells are inflammatory. So the more fat cells you have, the more your body is staying in an inflamed state. And then chronic stress, if you're in fight or flight, that's going to lead to more inflammation. So chronic stress can be just like you have a stressful drive to work every day and you're in traffic and you're just sitting here like this all the time. Like that's going to lead to inflammation in your body. So a lot of it is just unavoidable. We need to learn how to manage it. So let's go into blood sugar real fast. I'm checking my time because I don't want to spend all my time on this. All right, so blood sugar is another thing at the root of most issues. Hormones are, I think this is fascinating, 100 times more powerful than any drug. Food is actually the most powerful drug because it has the ability to change the hormonal response in your body, and that response will turn on or off the inflammatory genes. So again, this has to do with genetic expression. For me, I did an interesting gene study on myself recently and found out that I'm at risk for systemic inflammation just genetically. And so I want to be careful with that. My husband is actually even more at risk for systemic inflammation genetically. And so knowing this is kind of helpful to want to keep our diet in a, keep things balanced so it doesn't make things worse. So when you eat refined carbs and sugar, we all pretty much know this is not rocket science. Your blood sugar is going to rise. Your body's going to start producing more insulin. So the problem is our bodies were never designed to produce insulin at the levels that it's being produced in the modern era. This causes major problems, type 2 diabetes, to what we are now calling type 3, which is Alzheimer's, dementia, hormonal problems, higher cholesterol, high blood pressure, chronic inflammation. You see how I keep talking about inflammation because it's all connected. So the issue is it's not so much carbs are not a bad thing. Carbs get a really bad rap. They're not a bad thing. The issue is that a lot of these carbs that we have, they don't have a high fiber content. Like 100 years ago, maybe more than that, people were eating about 100 grams of fiber a day. These days, people get about 15 or less grams of fiber a day. And that's a problem because when you don't have enough fiber in your diet, it doesn't slow down the insulin production. Okay, so if you have enough fiber through complex carbs, whole grains, or something like quinoa or brown rice or whatever, that's going to be a slower it's a slower dose for your body to handle than refined carbs like a donut. That's going to go straight to your blood sugar and whoop, it's going to really mess things up. But if you're focusing on other carbs, like vegetables are a great source of carbs. Like think about a starchy vegetable, like a sweet potato. There's a ton of fiber in there. Even a white potato. A lot of people are anti-white potatoes, but there are so many nutrients in there, and there's also some fiber there that's going to help keep blood sugar from going crazy. And I already kind of talked about type 3 diabetes, but I do want to remind you guys, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 38, and in the next, 30 years, I think Alzheimer's dementia rates are supposed to triple, and I don't want to be one of those. I have 2 grandparents with Alzheimer's, and it is not fun for them. It's not fun for anybody around them. And so we can go ahead, try to take sorry, my brain is blanking out again. We want to get before that, get ahead of that, and fight it. So, okay, it is 9:22. I'm trying to speed it up. That's why my mouth is going faster than my brain can think. All right, so just a reminder to always start with food. That should be the first line of defense, right? Processed foods are going to be inflammatory. They're going to spike your blood sugar. They're going to wreck your gut health. This should be obvious. Look for minimal ingredients that you can easily pronounce. Limit the processed vegetable oils. These are the omega-6 inflammatory oils I was talking about before, but could not get it out of my speeding brain. Like soybean oils, canola, corn, vegetable, grapeseed. If it's a plant, eat it. If it's made from a plant, investigate it. That's kind of a good rule of thumb. So even like some of these foods that look like health foods, if you actually look at the ingredients, it's like, wait a minute, what is this actually made with? Our food, but here's the thing, okay? Our food does not give us everything that we need. It just doesn't. They've done studies on apples from, I don't know how they did it, but they do studies on the nutrients in apples from 50 years ago and apples now, and the nutrient density is vastly different. Our food now is just not producing the nutrients that it used to, because of all sorts of reasons I won't get into. Mediterranean diet is really kind of a staple as far as good, healthy eating is concerned. They recently did a study on the Mediterranean diet in Australia. It's the first ever food nutrition study of its kind, where they saw, I think about, I can't remember if it was like 40% of patients with moderate to severe depression went into remission after 12 weeks on the Mediterranean diet. These are people that were already on meds, they were already doing talk therapy, but just changing their diet to eating more omega-3s through fish and through olive oil and all these other things, to eating more leafy greens, to eating more fresh, real food, berries, whole grains, again, those complex carbs we talked about before. They have been shown to be very, very beneficial. But again, it's really, really hard in the world that we're in to sustain a diet like this long term. It's just not always sustainable. And I think that we do need to have a balance as well. I am very much against, I'm very anti-diet because I think it puts us in a weird mindset. I'm against calorie counting. I'm against real food. And I'm pro real food. I'm against real food, guys. I like fake food. I am pro real food. And I am pro supplementation because, you know, you go to a wedding and you want a piece of wedding cake, and that should be okay, right? So let's talk about supplementation. But the disclaimer is that I don't claim to cure or treat any disease. There is no one-size-fits-all solution to dieting or supplementation. The following is only based on my personal research. These are suggestions based on what I think best address the key areas of blood sugar, gut health, and inflammation, but always be your own health advocate. So let's get into the good stuff. This is Slim, the pink drink. And Slim is fascinating. We like to promote Slim as something that regulates blood sugar, and it does. It's very helpful in maintaining a healthy glucose metabolism through chromium and alpha lipoic acid, as it says here. But there are some other really, really fascinating things about Slim that I think are worth mentioning. And that is alpha lipoic acid detoxifies the body by removing heavy metals, and it decreases inflammation by preventing cell damage. So we were just talking about inflammation. Well, Slim is anti-inflammatory. I prefer calling it the pink drink most of the time, because when I say Slim, it makes it look like a quick fix weight loss thing, and we know it's so much more than that. The XOS fiber, or even the polydextrose prebiotic fiber, they increase the good bacteria in your gut, and they release short-chain fatty acids, which we are completely lacking in the standard American diet. Because I don't know if you remember me talking about fiber. Now this is all tying it back in. We don't get enough. There's a lot of fiber in Slim, and we need it. It's good for your brain. It's good for your gut. It's good for inflammation. It is good for everything. It's good for helping with blood sugar control. It's just good for everything. So whether you're taking the microbiome activating version of Slim, that's the XOS fiber, that's going to increase good bacteria. But there are also a ton of studies on the polydextrose in hunger control. That's also still going to increase good bacteria. Then chlorogenic acid is a polyphenol, and polyphenol, I mentioned earlier, those are really good at decreasing inflammation. They're antioxidants. One of the issues we have in this toxic world that we live in is oxidative stress. When our toxins overpower the amount of antioxidants that we can produce, our bodies go into a state of oxidative stress. And that is what leads to inflammation. And a lot of brain disorders, actually, a lot of them come from this whole oxidative stress, like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia. Again, things I mentioned earlier. So it decreases inflammation. It prevents the absorption of fat by hindering glucose. So again, you get the blood sugar properties there. It's antimicrobial. I thought that was super interesting. But what I love, if you've ever heard of GABA, GABA is a calming neurotransmitter, and chlorogenic acid activates the GABA receptor. So you will, if you suffer from depression or anxiety, or really any mood issue, Slim, you're going to see a big difference when you have Slim in your daily routine. I notice a huge difference. I am a bipolar survivor, and I love these products. Love, love, love what they do for just my overall mental functioning. Unless I'm trying to do a training in less than an hour. And then I'm like, but anyway, so Garcinia cambogia decreases insulin levels, leptin levels, reduces inflammation, and reduces damage to the inner lining of the digestive tract. How awesome is that? So there is a gut healing capability with Slim. That's something to remember. So Slim is good for PCOS, thyroid, GI issues, mental illness, blood pressure, cholesterol, like basically anything, right? Heavy metal toxicity, like there's so many issues that people struggle with, and Slim is good for that. I wanted to add on there balance and block. Both of those are a little bit similar, a little bit different, but they also are very good at absorbing, slowing the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream, which is important for mental health as well, and important for overall blood sugar. Our blood sugar and mental health is really connected. So I'm always probably going to be bringing back, I'm always going to mention something about mental health just because it really is an epidemic. We have a lot of people struggling with mental health issues, and all of these products really help with that as well. So then next we have, okay, we've got ProBio 5, my absolute favorite, 5 strains of quality targeted probiotic bacteria. Each strain has a specific function that I don't have time to go into today. I wish I could, but some of them are good for digestion, some of them are good for bowel regularity, and some of them are just good for immune support. And so it's important to know that each of those strains do something very special in your body that you need. They're a blend of lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. Those are the 2 probably most popular, I guess, species of bacteria. It contains B6, which is huge for as an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. There's that word inflammation again, and for brain health. For me, I think for a lot of people who have, I have an THFR gene mutation, and a lot of people who have that gene mutation tend to have a predisposition to being lower in B vitamins. And I think one of the reasons that this probiotic made such a difference for me is because I was also getting B vitamins that my body had been lacking for a really long time. It contains vitamin C for immune health. Grapeseed extract is pretty amazing. It's a polyphenol, it's an antihistamine, it's an antioxidant, it's antibacterial, it's an antifungal. It's even used to treat candida in some places. And then Espoulardi is a beneficial yeast that eats up the bad yeast in your gut. So the digestive enzymes also, there are 3 of those. I didn't list them out, but they don't just improve digestion, because a lot of people, when they think of digestive enzymes, they just think, oh, I'm going to be able to eat dairy and not get sick. But it's not just for that. They don't just improve your digestion, they break down the bad bacteria. You've probably seen the post about chitosanase and how it will break down the outer layer of candida. But I mean, it's pretty amazing. And I say this probiotic is great for every human on this planet. I will say one thing that I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it anyway. When my 3rd born child was, 6 weeks old, he came down with thrush. And my doctor said it would be okay to put ProBio 5, just put a little bit on my finger and rub it on the inside of his mouth. Y'all, the next day the thrush was gone. So that is how I know that ProBio 5 kills fungus. Because if you know what thrush is, it's an overgrowth of fungus. And if it did that to his mouth, I like to think about what is this doing to my gut at all times. Because again, my diet can't be perfect. And honestly, I wouldn't want it to be perfect every day either, because there are some really enjoyable foods out there that I would just hate to completely give up. So I love to have ProBio 5 there to know that it's helping to find balance in my body. Our bodies are always searching for balance, and this is one of those things that does that. The other thing I have down there is to mention Vital Biome. Those are strains of bacteria that are specifically targeted for mental well-being, and it's a really amazing product. It doesn't have the digestive enzymes, it doesn't have some of those other things, but I wouldn't, say to jump on that first. I think it would be important to do ProBio 5 first, just because you want to break down the bad stuff before you start adding in the good. But Vital Biome is a fabulous product like nothing else out there. Let's see, going to the next one, trying to go fast. And if there are, oopsie, sorry y'all. If there are any questions, I don't see anything. I don't know if there have been any questions in the chat right now, but if there are, I will try to get to them at the end. Okay. BioCleanse is wonderful because magnesium is needed for over 300 enzyme-driven reactions in the body, but BioCleanse is a magnesium hydroxide version. It's combined with vitamin C, which is ascorbic acid. It turns it into magnesium ascorbate, and it's a much more gentle and absorbable form of magnesium than some of those harsh laxative versions. So that's why it's not intended to make you like just go to the bathroom all the time. It's actually intended to oxygenate the tissue in our body and to create an alkalinized environment in our gut. And having a good pH balance is huge. And you know, you've seen all the different alkaline water or whatever it is. Like, it's a trendy thing, but it's because it's a necessary thing. Mice that were deficient in magnesium in some studies had lower levels of bifidobacterium. And again, that's really important for your immune function, is that if you have magnesium, you are going to be more likely to have beneficial bacteria in your body as well, so you can have a stronger immune system. So headaches, magnesium is important for headaches, depression, bone health, fibromyalgia, sleep, restless leg. Many medications deplete this. I was on lots of various medications for a long time, and they deplete magnesium in the body. And so I think adding in BioCleanse was something my body was definitely needing. The other thing, a lot of women who suffer from menstrual cramps before they have their period, a lot of times that is a magnesium deficiency. And so and with that, a lot of times we get cravings for chocolate right before our period. It's not necessarily the chocolate we're craving, it's the magnesium in the chocolate, because chocolate is pretty rich in magnesium. We don't really get magnesium through a lot of things. Our soil is pretty depleted of it. We don't get it as much as we used to, but chocolate is dark chocolate. Let me just put in a plug for dark chocolate. If you don't get in your daily vitamin of dark chocolate, I don't even know you. Like, you need to be doing that. Dark chocolate's amazing. And when you are allowing yourself to have dark chocolate, not only are you getting antioxidants, but you're giving your body something that is pleasurable and enjoyable. And it just brings so much more joy to life. So it's a little plug for dark chocolate. Okay. I love it. It's good. It's good for you. And it's just good in general. Okay, so Ease is the most underrated product. I hope you guys can still see these screens changing. Iris, can you still see the screens? Can you guys see them? Okay, thanks. I didn't check earlier. Ease is absolutely the most underrated product that we have, that I've ever taken. New Zealand green lip mussel is fascinating. It contains omega-3 fatty acids. The omega-3 fatty acids that are in this New Zealand green lip mussel are 3 times more effective at reducing inflammation than a regular omega-3. Okay, so it's not just like, you know, everybody talks about fish oil, omega-3, blah, blah, blah. This is the kind of omega-3 you want, because it's 3 times more effective at fighting inflammation. Turmeric, it fights free radicals, rejuvenates cells, cleanses the liver, protects the heart, boosts your mood, supports the brain, but it must be taken with fat, and that is in the New Zealand green lip mussel. So you are getting extra absorption of the omega-3s, and you're getting extra absorption for the turmeric. A lot of people think that they need to take Ease just if they have a headache, or just for fighting pain, or but remember how we were talking about chronic inflammation affects all of us? So Ease is really something that you should be taking every day, in my opinion. The serapeptase in Ease breaks down non-living tissue, decreases inflammation by getting to the root. The bromelain in Ease is, bromelain, what it is, it's in pineapple. It's an enzyme in pineapple that's a protein digesting enzyme, reduces inflammation, helps allergies, asthma, because again, both of those are leaky gut issues, and bromelain actually kills candida. So if you really want to heal your gut, you add in Ease. I think there have been various studies too about chronic sinusitis, people that are always having sinus infections and always having a runny nose, being treated with bromelain. And I think really all of these ingredients here could be really helpful for people that are just always having that, like, you know, there's some people that just get clogged ears or noses, or it's like, you know, you talk to certain people and like, oh my gosh, they're sick again. Ease. Okay, Ease is something that's going to help with that, because obviously there is something not right in the gut. So I really recommend Ease. We are almost done. I think I'm doing okay on time. I probably sped up way too fast. XFactor Plus and XFactor. Now, XFactor Plus is a complete multivitamin and multi-mineral, and that's important because, again, minerals we do not get from our soil the way we used to. Polyphenols, I already talked about the polyphenols in Slim, but polyphenols in XFactor also, in XFactor Plus, decrease inflammation. They activate the microbiome. They increase good gut bacteria. There's also grapeseed extract, and that is the same grapeseed extract that is in ProBio 5. So I already told you the benefits of that. Aloe is very gut healing as well. It's very healing for everything. It increases absorption of nutrients. It contains 19 nutrients. And then particular for people with thyroid issues, so the selenium, boron, zinc, copper, chromium, manganese, and I don't even know how to say this one, molybdenum. Yeah, that's how I'm saying it, molybdenum, that one. All of those are really good for thyroid health, and all of those are in XFactor Plus. XFactor Original is more of a B complex. It's not necessarily a complete multivitamin. There are no polyphenols, but it does have the aloe that's going to help absorb vitamins up to 300% more than without the aloe. And there are 10 nutrients in XFactor Original. So going through that real fast because I want to get to hemp. Don't we all want to talk about hemp? So lean, okay. I love lean. Something that's interesting. Now the vegetarian one, I'm personally not as much of a fan of because I just don't like any vegetarian. It's not necessarily lean's fault. I don't like any vegetarian protein powder. But what makes this one unique and why I would choose it over any other protein powder is that it contains omega-3s. And that's really, really important. It contains omega-3s. It contains digestive enzymes, ancient grains, and pea protein. Sorry, I'm going off. I'm not going in order here. The prebiotic fiber, again, is huge because we don't get enough fiber in our diet and we want to increase our gut health and our short-chain fatty acids. There's MCT oil powder. Oh my goodness. Do you know what MCT oil does for the brain? It's amazing. It does amazing things for everything, but specifically for brain health. It's really good. Also, it's methylated folate, not folic acid, and that's huge for anybody who has MTHFR gene mutation. And I'll be very clear about something. Even for people who don't know they have the MTHFR gene mutation or don't think they have it, folic acid is not the most bioavailable form ever. Like it's not. And it's even been linked to cancer in some cases. A doctor who spoke at my nutrition school mentioned that, and I was like, oh my gosh. So just if you have a friend who's taking a protein powder from another company or another, and it's like, oh, well, it has folic acid. No. Listen. We have methylated folate. That's huge. And we're non-GMO. It's just going to be, all those ingredients are way more bioavailable. Bioavailable meaning your body can use them better than ingredients in other protein powders. And I've done comparisons. I love protein powder. I love making a shake. And so I try out all sorts of different kinds, but I really do love the lean powders. And specifically the Whey. I was doing some research on Whey recently. Whey is actually probably one of the most bioavailable forms of protein that you can get in a powder form. It doesn't involve as much of a chemical process to turn it into a protein powder as a vegetarian one would, as it would be for a pea protein. Whey is a little bit easier to process, and so that's going to be easier on people with digestive issues anyway. There are digestive enzymes. The other thing I was going to say about Whey, sorry, I wrote it down in my notes and it's not on here, but I want to look at it real fast because I thought it was interesting. Where is it? Okay, it's okay. Whey supports glutathione production. And that's important because when you're not producing glutathione, and I, again, going back to genes, I have a gene where I don't produce glutathione very well. Glutathione is needed for detoxification. And if our liver is not detoxifying, we are not going to be able to process our hormones well. There are going to be a whole lot of other things that don't happen well if we don't have glutathione production. And Whey also contains a lot of gut healing properties, one of them being that it's glutamine. I think that's how you say it. Glutamine is the ingredient that helps to heal leaky gut. And the other thing that's interesting about Whey, the digestive enzymes can be helpful for people that do have a lactose sensitivity. So there are a lot of people who have lactose issues, but do well with lean whey. The other product that I did not talk about that I think is important to mention is MetaBurn, because that has made a huge impact on me. That has anti-inflammatory properties. It can be very beneficial for reducing stress. And I don't know if you remember what I said way back in the beginning. It was probably about 9:16 when I said this, that stress creates an inflammatory response in the body. And so MetaBurn, that decreases inflammation because it decreases the production of the stress hormone cortisol. So I did not put up a separate slide for MetaBurn. I could have, but MetaBurn is really, really beneficial for all of these issues we talked about, which is, you know, gut health, blood sugar, inflammation. Last, I want to talk about Henna. I don't know. I'm still learning. I'm still in major learning process, and I want to make sure I even say these things right, because there are different, I've heard different ways, but we all have an endocannabinoid. I always want to say endocannabinoid, but I think it's endocannabinoid system. And we have receptors throughout the body for cannabinoids, okay? But endo just means inside. So we have this, and this was discovered in the early, I think, was it in the 90s or the early 2000s? This is very new. So the fact that we even know we have this system is brand new. And so what the endocannabinoid system does at ECS, it restores balance to the body, homeostasis. And our bodies, as you can see from what we were talking about with gut health, blood sugar, inflammation, our bodies are constantly in a fight to have balance. Even when we're suffering from inflammation, it's just your body's natural response to try to regain balance. And I think when we stress about our diets, when we stress about our products that we take, when we stress about working out, when we stress about anything, it throws off that internal balance. And so one of the awesome things about hemp products that I'm really excited about is it's going to restore this balance, and that affects mood, memory, appetite, which is huge, pain, sleep, everything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just touched on the big ones. One interesting thing that I learned as I was studying this is we can activate our endocannabinoid system with animal fats. That's one way that if you want to, and you know, I don't want to offend anybody, but I am not I'm not big on promoting a vegetarian or vegan diet. And this is one reason, is because there are a lot of nutrients in animal fats, and it also activates the endocannabinoid system. So like grass-fed butter, some good grass-fed beef, and I'm talking like quality animal products are going to help have a calming variable to them. Sorry. Cannot talk. So see, we have the two versions coming out. We don't know when their release date is going to be, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about how our products are going to be different from other products. But the CBD isolate is a cannabinoid that's found in cannabis plants. It is a separate cannabinoid from marijuana, okay? They are two totally different things, all right? So there's cannabis, and you can find the marijuana cannabinoid, and then you've got the CBD. I mean, it's like totally different. We're talking like they're both fruit, but we're comparing, you know, like a cantaloupe to a tomato, because, right, is tomato still like a fruit, but it's like so totally different. We don't even consider it a fruit. That's what CBD is. Okay. Got it. Does that make sense? So just to clarify, if anybody, just think cantaloupe and tomato, if anybody asks you if you're getting high on CBD, it's totally different. And CBD isolate does not contain any THC. Obviously, marijuana has a lot of THC, and that's why people get high. It's very psychoactive. And I will also say that as a survivor of bipolar disorder, something to always remember is that, you know, medical marijuana is real popular right now, but there's still a percentage of people that experience psychosis from marijuana, and it's not beneficial for them. And so I'm just going to throw that out there. But these products are totally different. All right. Hemp extract does also contain CBD, but it contains other cannabinoids. It contains vitamins. It contains minerals. It contains fatty acids, flavonoids, terpenes, which I'm still learning about, but they're really beneficial in the body. And it might contain like a little tiny percentage of THC. And that's something we are going to be learning more about. But the thing about cannabinoids that's really important to note is there's a lot of talk about whether your hemp oil or whatever is fat soluble or water soluble or whatever. Cannabinoids are always going to be best absorbed with fat, just like all plants. That's why one of the best things you can do for your salad is put olive oil on it, because the olive oil is going to help you absorb all the nutrients from the plants. Same thing here. Cannabinoids with MCT oil is going to be extra absorbable in the body. You're going to feel it more instantly. You don't have to wait for it to kick in. And then MCT oil is also a preferred carrier because it doesn't need to be digested by the stomach first. It's going to go straight into where it needs to go. So if people ask about that, I've looked around. I haven't seen I think I've seen one other brand that uses MCT oil as a carrier, but there are not many that do that. And so the fact that we use MCT oil as a carrier is huge. So again, I don't know release date on that product. I don't know, anything else, but just, I wanted to kind of talk about the difference in the two products and how we all have endocannabinoid system, therefore we can all benefit from these products. And it just goes into finding that homeostasis and balance, sorry. So last thing, if you have any questions about anything I have to say, and I will take questions in a minute when I stop recording, but follow me on Instagram. Sparking Wholeness is my Instagram name. I also have a blog, sparkingwholeness.com. I do some recipes on Pinterest, not really much, but I don't know why I have that up there. I put that up there from the training I did in the past, I guess. But if you have any questions, those are ways you can contact me. I'm always trying to write up more about nutrition and mental health and all of these topics, because I think that there is a need for all of this. So I'm going to stop the screen share and see if there are any questions. I will also, I'm wondering if I should keep the recording going or stop for questions. I'll go ahead and stop it right now, but thank you guys for staying on. I know it's late. I talked way too fast. I hope that was somewhat helpful.